So, UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Kavanagh is going down this weekend, and I, King Hit MMA, will be choosing each fight on the card. And yeah, but before I talk about this card, it is fucking trash. This whole card, fuck all names on it. Why is Moreno fighting Kavanagh? Was there no other Mexican or no other flyweight that could fight? But yeah, besides that, Instagram's live. Come to the Instagram, King Hit MMA. If you're from the Instagram to the YouTube, give a subscribe. If you're from the YouTube to the Instagram, give a follow. So yeah, let's get to it. And for the first fight on the card, we have Damian Penis versus Wes Schultz. Damian Penis, he was really good. He has all finishes in his wins. Looked really good on Dana White's Contender Series. I'm pretty sure he knocked out a guy named Muhammad Ali, if I'm not wrong. And Wes Schultz, he failed once on the Dana White's Contender Series. Came back to the regional scene, fought twice more, and then got a really interesting submission on the Contender Series. But to be honest, I think Penis is going to win, bro. I think Penis is going to knock out Wes Schultz in the first round. Wes Schultz looks pretty chinny on his last show, not his last showing Dana White Contender Series, but the one before. But yeah, I think Damian Penis is going to get him in the second round. Let's go for that. For the next fight, bruh, this is what I'm talking about. This card's kind of trash. We have Eric Silva versus Francis Marshall. Eric Silva, he hasn't fought in ages. Oh, shit. I always do this every time. Let me get the thing up. So, Damian Penis. Damian Penis is $1.37 and Wes Schultz is $3.13. Yeah, and for the next fight, like I said, we have Eric Silva versus Francis Marshall. Eric Silva hasn't fought in ages, if I'm not wrong. The last time Eric Silva fought was Muhammad Naimov. He got KO'd in the first round and then got submitted by TJ Brown. And TJ Brown is not a very good fighter, man. And for Francis Marshall, he goes to war with a lot of these fighters. His last two fights was Marion Santos. Marion Santos is looking like a promising prospect in featherweight. And, he beat Dennis Bazooka. He's not very good, but I think Francis Marshall is a lot better than Eric Silva. He's actually the biggest underdog on the card, so I'm going to choose Francis Marshall for a finish. I don't know what, but yeah, I'm going to choose him for a finish. Eric Silva is $6 and Francis Marshall is $1.10. For the next fight, we have Regina Turin and Ernesta Caracat. I can't even spell these names. Yeah, anyway, so I don't know who Regina Turin is, honestly. I think she's just a regional warrior coming onto the UFC. And for Ernesta Cavalcanti, she fought Diane Barboza in a very good fight. And she beat Cagliari pretty easily, Nicola. It's women's MMA. I haven't watched much of Turin. I'm going to be honest. But I'm just going to go off UFC experience and say Ernesta's going to win by decision, which is very interesting. I might choose up my pick possibly if I go back and watch Turin's fights, but I think I'm going to choose Ernesta Caracanti. Regina Turin's $2.50 and Ernesta Caracanti is $1.50. So yeah, on to the next fight. We have Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Javier Reyes. Douglas Silva de Andrade, he's been in the UFC for a while now. He's actually not a half bad fighter. A lot of people shit on him for his loss to Miles Johns. Miles Johns is a very average fighter. His last win was Cody Stamen. Cody Stamen was pretty trash. But when you saw these fights, De Silva looked like he was on the. I mean, Andrade looked like he was on the sauce. And Javier Reyes, he seems. I've never seen Javier Reyes fight. He's pretty new to the UFC. It's a hard fight because both these Silva de Andrade hasn't fought in over a year, and Javier Reyes could be from the regional scene. But Douglas Silva's been in the UFC for a long time, so I'm going to choose Douglas Silva by decision. Douglas Silva's $2.90 and Javier Reyes is $1.40. So yeah, that's it. And for one of the only named people on the card, we have Christian Quinones versus Chris Montino. Christian Quinones, he's pretty average bantamweight. He's lost twice in the UFC. He lost to Rani Barcelos, who's actually really good. He had a good fight against Rani Barcelos. That's a really good aging loss. I know it's a loss, but... And Kyung Ho Kang, he had a loss against. He got submitted by him. He has problems in the grappling, Quinones, but he's actually a really good striker. And Chris Montino is just basically the punching bag. He came up on short notice for Sean O'Malley, and then got done by, I forget his name. He got done by an unk. That's all I can remember. Gildo Canetti. And then he came back on short notice against Malcolm Wellmaker, which, no surprise. I've seen Christian Quinones fight. He's actually had half decent fights against most of his opponents. I'm going to choose Christian Quinones by a second round knockout. I think, unless Chris Montino is somehow going to gas him out and get to a submission, I just don't see him winning. So, yeah, Christian Quinones is $1.15 and Chris Montino is $5.50. Yep. And for the next fight, we have Arlene Perez versus Macy Chiasson. Arlene Perez, I underrated her, man, because she's looked good in her last few fights. She beat the fuck out of Cal Rosa, which is actually a super good win. Cal Rosa is the number one contender now at bantamweight. And she's just gone on a tear, like a really good tear. She's beaten Jocelyn Edwards, Cal Rosa, Pudlova. These are half decent wins. And Macy Chiasson, absolute fraud. Legit, a fraud. We all thought she was good, beating Mayra Bueno Silva. But Mayra Bueno Silva's fucking... We've just realised how terrible she is. And, losing to Caitlin Vieira ain't terrible, but losing to Yana Santos in 2025 is actually shocking. And that was real recently. That was pretty dominantly. I'm going to go Arlene Perez by probably a finish. And Arlene Perez is $1.50 over Macy Chiasson. And this is probably my pick of the card, honestly. Arlene Perez, I think she's going to finish Macy Chiasson. So, yeah. Macy Chiasson just can't grapple. So, yeah. Let's move on to the next one. Okay. Before I talk about the fight, how is Jose Medina in the UFC still? Genuinely. He is 4 losses in a row. All by KO, by the way. All by KO. Let's see. I'll look at his Tapology. No, 3 losses in the UFC. Sorry, but that doesn't make it any better. Mind you, yeah, losing to Ateba Gautier ain't bad, but losing to Dusko Todorovic, who's one of the worst middleweights ever, and Zachary Reese, who I don't rate either, that's terrible. And he's lost by first round in his last 2 fights. Ryan Gardner, just a giant middleweight. I'm just going to choose him straight out for a first round or second round finish. And I think we're just going to see Jose Medina get out of the UFC. But, yeah, that's it. I just don't know how Medina's still in the UFC. He's looked terrible in all these fights. And for the start of the main event, we have Santiago Luna versus Angel Pacheco. This should be a first round finish. This is just for to build up Santiago Luna. Santiago Luna is basically Ryan Gandro is $1.14 and Jose Daniel Medina is $5.75. It's been generous. And for Santiago Luna, like, he absolutely boxed the head off his last opponent in his last fight, Kwong Lee. And Angel Pacheco, he's looked terrible. Like, he lost to friggin' Callan Loughran. Not that great of a fighter. Had moments, he can take a punch, but I think Santiago Luna is just going to knock him out. This is just to build up the name of Luna. Santiago Luna is $1.16 and Angel Pacheco is $5.30. Yeah. For the next fight, we have Emmanuel Rodriguez versus Kevin Borjas. That's what I've been talking about, man. These are terrible, terrible fights. Emmanuel Rodriguez had a good Dana White Contender Series fight. But he looked real good on there at flyweight. Real fast, real quick with it. But Kevin Borjas, as much as he's had 3 losses out of 4, losing to Joshua Van, the champ, Alessandro Costa, and Sumadaji isn't a great loss. I don't know. I think this is going to be a lot more competitive fight than what I see on the odds. But I'm still going to choose Emmanuel Rodriguez. I think he's just looked better in a lot of his wins, and he's the fresh and upcoming guy. Emmanuel Rodriguez is $1.20 and Kevin Borjas is $4.40. So yeah, I'm choosing Emmanuel Rodriguez. For the next fight, we have Edgar Chairez versus Felipe Bunes. Edgar Chairez, these fighters are terrible too. This is just horrible, horrible card. Edgar Chairez, he had a good win over Vergara. What's his name? CJ Vergara. First round submission. Had a first round submission over Daniel Lasada. He got knocked decision by Van. He actually went to a decision. Van hasn't done that to many of his opponents. And real good on the grappling. He's only the 2 losses in the UFC is Joshua Van and Tatsuro Taira. But Felipe Bunes, he beat Jose Johnson by submission. This is going to be an interesting grappling match. He lost to Rafael Esteban, who's actually fringe of top 20, like number 16 in flyweight, so he's actually really good. This is probably it's an interesting fight on the card, but I'm going to choose Edgar Chairez by submission. He's just he's looked way better, and who he's lost to, they're the top of the division at flyweight. So yeah, I'm going to go Edgar Chairez by submission. $1.30 for Chairez and $2.50 for Felipe Bunes. And for the next fight on the card, we have Daniel Zellhuber versus King Green, Bobby Green. A lot of people have been choosing Bobby Green because of his last performance, and a lot of people are dogging on Daniel Zellhuber. But I think that's the case of Michael Johnson just being that good, and Bobby Green being I think Bobby Green, he's an unk. He's 40 years of age, for God's sake. I think Daniel Zellhuber is going to use his range and speed in this fight. Bobby Green looked terrible in his last fight, and that was against a debutant. While Daniel Zellhuber, his last 2 losses were friggin' Michael Johnson, who I actually consider as a half decent lightweight, and Esteban Ribovics. He beat Francisco Prado, who's very average, and then he submitted Christios Galagos, who's not in the UFC anymore. But Bobby Green kind of he hasn't looked good in these fights. Winning against Jim Miller isn't that impressive, and winning against Lance Gibson Jr. ain't a good win either. I think we're going to see a second round KO. I'm going to choose against the pick, which is insane because the odds are saying Bobby Green's $4.50 and Daniel Zellhuber's $1.20, but I thought it was going to be way lower. But I still think Daniel Zellhuber's going to get Bobby Green out of there. I think Bobby Green's washed. I don't think he could beat an up-and-comer like Zellhuber, even though Zellhuber didn't look great in his last fight. So, yeah. For the next fight, we have David Martinez versus Marlon Vera. You know, Chito Vera, he just waits until he gets the one knockout shot. He's 1-4 in his last 4 fights, and that was a win over Pedro Munoz. Don't know what to say. He's gone, like, his last fight he could have won against Ayman Zahabi, but Ayman Zahabi isn't anyone impressive. He's just a very average, like, it's just very shit performance. It's very slow, very sluggish from Marlon Vera. He always looks for one shot. I still don't know how he is ranked in bantamweight. He's lost most of his fights recently. But for David Martinez, he had a really impressive showing against Rob Font. Mind you, that fight was a lot closer than people put it, but I do think David Martinez is a great prospect, and I will be choosing him to have a decision over Marlon Vera. I think he's just the better looking prospect, and Marlon Vera is just going to be looking for that one shot. So, yeah, I'm choosing David Martinez. Marlon Vera is $3.50 and David Martinez is $1.30. It's Chito Vera, but Marlon Vera anyway. And for the main event, somehow still the worst main event this year, and I think this is going to be the worst main event this year, honestly. We have Brendan Moreno over Lona Kavanagh. Brendan Moreno, former champ. He's been a win-loss fighter recently, but he's had some good fights. Like, had a good win over Amir Albazi, pretty impressive, and a good win over Steve Erceg. Lost to Tatsuro Taira. Could have been a bit of an earlier stoppage, but he's only been really losing to the best of the best. But he's kind of a win-loss fighter, and I feel like Moreno is on the more downslope of his career. But for Lona Kavanagh, he's had 3 fights in the UFC, his last one being a KO loss to Charles Johnson. I think with this fight, it's a lot closer than people think, but I still think because Lona is on Lona's going to be more dangerous, but he's going to gas out a lot quicker against Brendan Moreno in this fight. So I'm going to say Brendan Moreno by decision. I think he's just going to jabbing in 1-2 on the out, in and out from the outside. I don't think Lona Kavanagh is ready for it. I could be changing my pick. Honestly, I have a feeling in my gut that Lona Kavanagh is going to pull a knockout. But he hasn't got a finish in the UFC. And I don't think he's going to out-technique Brendan Moreno yet. So, and plus it's on short notice. So I'm going to choose Brendan Moreno for a crafty vet decision. I think that is smart, and especially when Lona Kavanagh got knocked out by Charles Johnson in his last fight. But yeah, man. Better say the odds. Brendan Moreno is $1.40 and Lona Kavanagh's $2.50, 70. Could they not get any other flyweight? Was there no flyweights available to fight Brendan Moreno? Or any other Mexicans? It was just, this whole card's just full of nobodies, bro. Legitimately, this is going to be the worst card of the year. That's what the title of the video is going to be. But listen, if you like the video, please like and subscribe. This is a shit show match. This is just shit show matchmaking. Paramount deals going to shit. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. Thanks. Bye.